Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Row of Gilead here, coming at you with another How I Done It video. Today, we're talking about getting the 7-star Green Goblin Classic. Now, this is easily the hardest of the three when it came to the packs with Mephisto characters, right? Nova, Black Cat, Green Goblin Classic. Easily the hardest to get through, mostly because of the characters you're forced to use and the difficulty of these nodes. So what we're going to do today in this video, I'm going to break down with you guys where my roster was at when I finished this up today, what I used to get through each node, which nodes are kind of a trouble spot, and I'm going to fill you in. Fun fact here, I'm going to have a node-by-node guide for this. So if you're going through using comparable level tunes to me, you can kind of see the strategies I used, how I tackled each node, and we're going to link that at the end of the video. So let's just kind of jump right into it here. We've got our map on MarvelStrikeForce.com because, of course, once you complete the event and claim your rewards, you can't go back into the event ever again, which, Scopely, I know it's a lot of code, it's a lot of programming, it saves you guys in the back end from processing from each individual account, but can you at least let us see them somewhere where we can, show off our scores and stuff? So I digress. Moving ahead, we got node order. Our first node is an unrestricted node, and it features lots of underworld characters, but it is very easy. Especially if you're bringing in some big tunes like we did. The Rebirth node is interesting. It's a lot of Wakanda and Secret Avengers, and the best way to kind of approach this for me, I found, was to slow roll it, right? Like, let them kill somebody off like Agent or US Agent, and then, save your healing and stuff like that for once they've all gotten to take a turn. And as you'll see in the replay video, it works pretty well. City Villain, if you're not using some hybrid of Superior and Sinister Six, maybe your Black Cat in here, I don't know what to tell you. Again, we're going to go over my teams in just a minute. This node was not challenging. Global Blaster. These nodes are always tough. I think we used a pretty good selection of characters at pretty reasonable levels, especially if you have done or are pushing towards doing Dark Dimension 6. There's going to be some references to that in the tunes we used. And yeah, this one was not too bad. You got to play it really smart. There's a Cersei, there's a Minerva, and you kind of got to dance around these Cull Obsidians to make sure that you don't get locked out and prevent you from, leaving with at least 3 of your 5 tunes intact. And we'll talk about that too, because we did sub in some tunes for different nodes for some of these requirements, like City Villain and Blaster, later on down the line. So, moving on, we have tech nodes. Now this, if you have a decent Pegasus, this is very simple. I believe my Pegasus is about a 1.2 mil. We're going to go check that here in a second. But they make easy work of this tech node. So make sure you're getting your Pegasus prepared for this. New Avengers, this one's tough. We're going to take a second in this video to click on it because it is tough. These big-time Spider-Mans will mess you up early game, especially if you don't have the right T4s on Tigra and on Mockingbird. So make sure that if you're going to invest T4s into new warriors, those are the characters. Ronin's stun special ability is also very helpful. This is I think, personally, this is the hardest node in this whole run, because if your New Avengers can't make it past this, you can't make it to the final node. And as you'll see in our video, and as we'll talk about here in a little bit, we 2-tapped the final node, and it went very smoothly, but you gotta get all 5 of your New Avengers through this node in at least 50% or better health with a lot of their cooldowns refreshed in order to get to that point. So my biggest tip here, work around the Spider-Man at first, get everyone kind of weak. You can use Coulson's abilities to heal block and to defense down them for bio and tech characters, right, on his special. And that's going to be big as far as helping control the big times and preventing the rest of these infestation characters from really getting to pop off. Once you get through the big times in this first wave and you're at the Swarms and the Black Widows and stuff, you can kind of slow roll it. You don't want to go too slow to where they're hitting you really hard. You want to focus on Ghosts. You want to make sure these Swarms are dead ASAP so they're not landing a bunch of debuffs. But this is kind of your time right here on wave 2 and 3 to take a moment and refresh your cooldowns so that this way, when you're, getting into that final node, your New Avengers are going to be able to go a lot farther for you and really help make sure that you can clear the final node there. Moving on, we're back to City Villain. In this node, because we have some bigger units, we did drop one of our characters and sub them out for Black Cats. And again, we'll review that in the roster section when we go over the tunes and their gear levels and stuff. But it just made things a lot easier. You're going to need the stun. There's some big tunes in there. Global Blaster. This one we had to sub in a couple units. When I played through it, as you'll see in the node by node guide we'll do, taken from the live stream, this node is tough. And I ended up swapping out 2 characters from my other team to make sure we got through it. With 2 fresh characters, it wasn't too bad, but you got to be a little careful. Same thing with this final tech node. There's a couple Red Hulks in there, and again, Pegasus can deal with it, but you just got to be very careful about your turn order when you use like certain abilities, especially abilities for Kestrel, because she's going to be your quickest way to delete Red Hulks. And then finally, we got the new Avenger and Rebirth final node. The way I did this, just again, because this is one of those things where it was tough, I came in with new Avengers. You gotta focus out Moonstones and Squirrel Girl. If nothing else, you should be able to get through the rest of this as long as the Moonstones and the Squirrel Girls are down and your Rebirth, it might need to be bigger than mine, but if it's bigger than mine and you can get those characters down with your new Avengers plus whatever else you can clean up, you're gonna be in good shape. Once they drop out, you get some young Avengers and you get another Shang-Chi. Really, all you're doing here is you're making sure Kate Bishop isn't putting blind on your entire team. And again, you're using, Pegasus, or not, yeah, you're using, what team is this? I've already blanked. But you have, I guess the solution here is you have, the statement here is you have solutions, right? That's tech. Yeah, you're using Pegasus. You can time out the immunities, and you're just kind of banking on hitting those abilities at the right time. We were using, New Warriors, or New Avengers and Rebirth, my bad. So, yeah, you get ability blocks on US Agent to lock her down and to lock down Echo and Shang-Chi. They hopefully spawn next to each other. You can chain and get 2 ability blocks for the price of 1. But I find Kate Bishop, Shang-Chi, and Echo to be the only real threats. And again, you're running Rebirth at this point probably, so you have the immunities from Cap's taunt that's going to make sure that Colleen Wing isn't doing much. But oh man, Kate Bishop can get around stuff, and it's not fun. So just making sure that's how you're focusing those nodes is going to be your best bet to getting through it. Now, give me a second. We're going to hop over to the game here, and we're going to check out what we've got left as far as teams and their basic levels. All right, guys, so we are back in Samsung Dex, the best way to emulate this game through your phone. So just going to go through a brief rundown of the nodes, right? We already kind of talked about node order. Let's talk about tunes. As you'll notice, my non-restrictions room is massive, right? None of these characters are used on any other nodes, and it's super fun just to blast through it. Now, if you don't have a big boy APOC, baby APOC can get through it. You don't have a big boy Skrull, baby Skrull can get through it. However, some of these characters are leveled up for my Dark Dimension 6 run, and they ended up making a big impact. So let's talk about the tunes that you don't have to really level up above their, threshold of necessity, and how we kind of went about building these teams. So the no restriction team is obviously I threw everything but the kitchen sink that I wasn't going to use in the other nodes, right? Now, important things to know here. We have 3 horsemen that are capped level 90, gear 17. I haven't leveled them. I haven't invested in a lot of red stars for them, aside from Morgan Le Fay. And Red Hulk, because we love Red Hulk. But I guess what I'm getting at here is I haven't leveled them since the Apocalypse grind. So if you are still working on your Apocalypse, your big boy Apocalypse, you're going to have these characters building up to this anyway, so you might as well use them, right? Same thing if you got the baby APOC, they're going to proc abilities off of each other. That's awesome. If you don't have Super Skrull, things like Void Knight, things like Dormammu or Doctor Doom, right? There's so many huge powerhouses that you can throw in this Super Skrull slot. I'm just super excited. I very recently got my big boy Skrull, and so I wanted to flex on the no restrictions node. But again, anybody can replace him. If you got a baby APOC in these horsemen, or even any other synergized team, and you play smart, it's not going to hurt you too bad. Moving on to that second node, we got Rebirth. You'll notice my Rebirth has a minimum investment. I haven't leveled Captain America or Captain Carter for the upcoming Out of Time team for the Old Man Logan event, so this is where they've been at for me for months. And thankfully, as long as you play smart, this Rebirth team is going to get you through. It's fantastic. So gear tier 16, level 85, I always trip up on that, is going to be all you need for your Rebirth, right? Again, you're going to need some T4s. I have a diamond on Winter Soldier, and he smacks. Him and Agent Venom are by far the two biggest damage dealers on this team. Something to keep in mind too when you're setting this team up to do the events, make sure that Cap is on the opposite side of the arena from Captain Carter. This way, because when he taunts, she's not getting nuked out from standing behind him. And of course, you want to put the most useless member of the team, US Agent, right behind Cap, because if he dies, you can use Captain Carter's special to bring him back. He gets at least 40 to 50% health, depending on what your ability levels are at. And he can just get right back into ability blocking and making sure that, like on the final nodes, that the Heroes for Hire don't revive, because he's got that ultimate that prevents characters from coming back. So, got Blue ISO 4. I was leveling up for Incursion until Hive Mind came out, and this is just where they've stopped. And that's, again, good minimum investment. Your Superior 6. This is where things get a little tougher to replicate, per se. I took my Doc Ock, and I took my Green Goblin Classic when he was a 6-star character, 6-3, up to gear tier 18, so I could use them in Dark Dimension 6. Now, these are great tunes to use in Dark Dimension 6. They are phenomenally functional. They heal, they reduce turn meter, they summon allies to give charges. Couldn't recommend them enough. We didn't even have the Awakened ability unlocked at the time for Green Goblin Classic for his passive, so there wasn't like any extra assists or anything like that. These two are just great, especially in Dark Dimension 6. You could get away with the Lizard at 85. Mine was at 90 because I leveled him up for Cosmic Crucible earlier this week, but we wouldn't have had a problem. He was not dying anywhere. This team, especially with Kraven, he has ability blocks he can throw out there. He has Permadeath ultimate that he can use. And then Vulture, of course, manipulating turn meter, dropping speed down, hitting AoEs left and right, multi-target attacks. This team is so clutch. And again, Vulture is another character that you're looking to take into Dark Dimension 6. And the rumor has it, he's not too bad in Dark Dimension 7 in the city section still either. Even though he is an older character, their reworks they got earlier this year for the Superior Sinister 6 hybrid teams have really brought Vulture back into play. And his kit is just great out with all kinds of utility and different things you can do. So this team pretty much simply walked through all the villain nodes. We did, in the second villain node, swap out Kraven for Black Cat because there were some bigger Horseman characters, and we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to land our stuns, right? To tie them up, to make sure that they weren't going to really destroy us. I know there's a Morgan Le Fay, there's an Apocalypse in that node, so there's Rogue and Archangel, so that second villain node is, you want to go in with good charges on your abilities, and you don't want to take it too lightly, because if you don't lock down Morgan Le Fay and the Horsemen as they come in, Apocalypse gets to pop off, and that's a quick reset, and then you're back to praying to RN Jesus, right? Now let's move ahead to the Global Blasters. This is another set of teams we had to kind of two-tap. The sucky part about this is that there's not really a lot of great healing unless you want to switch ISOs around, which I did not. Again, things to keep in mind here. My Gambit is level 95 gear 18 because I used him for Dark Dimension 6. Beautiful Dark Dimension 6 character. In fact, I recommend taking the entire Unlimited X-Men with the exception of Apocalypse. Not Unlimited X-Men. The entire Extreme X-Men with the exception of Apocalypse into your Dark Dimension 6 global run. It's going to be huge, especially with the revives on Forge. But, anywho, you'll notice that both Archangel and Phantom X are exactly where I left them from unlocking my big boy APOC, so there's minimum investment there. Especially if you're still pushing towards Apocalypse. This is going to be something you're grinding towards anyway. So, this is already an investment that you're making more use of. And, Cyclops and Sunspot are at the minimums I need them for Incursion raids, level 85, gear tier 16. If you couldn't tell, gear tier 16, for the most part, is going to be the cost of admission for this 7-star. You don't necessarily have to have 7-star characters. You don't necessarily have diamonds or 7 reds. But it seems like teal gear, to some extent, is the cost of admission. You need that power jump in order to easily surpass these nodes. And when I say easily, I think when we get this final rundown, you guys can check the video and leave it in the comments. Please correct me. I hate being wrong, but I believe we only had to reset nodes 2 or 3 times. Like 3 nodes we did twice to make sure we got the good RNG on them. So gear tier 16 might be steep, but a lot of these characters, again, are future raid characters you're going to be using for the rest of 2024 into early 2025. They're used for your big boy Apocalypse. They're used for other legendary events, as we'll talk about here in a second. So, you're making best use of teams and characters you're going to level up anyway. Now, for the second Global Blaster node, I ended up they didn't die, but they were in the red on health Sunspot, and Cyclops because we don't have a healer on that team. And instead, we subbed in Ultron and Iron Patriot. Now, this Iron Patriot's a little bigger than what most people are probably going to have, but I'm going to be honest with you. As long as he's at 85 gear tier 16, he's going to clap. He's got the stuns, he's got the traumas. Your Ultron bots are going to get you some healing if your Gambit, Phantom X, and Archangel are low. He'll pop those off pretty quick. You get the speed up, you get the offense up, get the healing done real fast. You can stun whatever's going to be your problem with Iron Patriot. You can ability block with Gambit. You have a lot of options on dealing with these nodes. I recommend using these first. You're not going to get more investment too much in these for the raids unless you're pushing way later to incursion. So you need this team either way. In a lot of these characters either way, so that's why I used them, right? They're pretty universally useful right now between different unlocks and different character events. You're going to want your Iron Patriot up for the Old Man Logan unlock. Ultron's kind of the only outlier here. I love Ultron, comic book fan from Annihilation Wave and stuff like that, old Marvel Cosmic stuff. So I took Ultron to 3 diamonds because it was cheap. But he's level 90, blue ISO 3. Not all of his abilities are maxed out. His basics not maxed out. He's probably a little more invested than I needed, but again, you're 2-tapping or you're switching somebody out, right? So he's not necessarily going to be the linchpin character. If you have one of the other global blasters that is better geared or better leveled up or you feel is going to be more utility, feel free to swap out Ultron. He's just who I used because I didn't want to lose a unit. And then, of course, Pegasus. My Pegasus is kind of big, but not crazy big. My Kestrel is the biggest part. Again, Dark Dimension 6. She's going to be necessary for Dark Dimension 7. She hits like a freaking truck. Do I think you need her at 3 diamonds? No. You could, at least as long as you're at 7-7, maybe 1 diamond, she's going to do more than enough damage to get you through the event. On all the tech nodes, they're not really too difficult. All you really got to pay attention to on these tech nodes is who you're ability blocking with Infinity War Iron Man, who you're speed downing, and what your focus is going to be with Kestrel. And then, making sure you're always applying your immunities to the whole team with Ironheart Mark II. Make sure you don't waste your revive, right, with Rescue. It's kind of common sense stuff when playing with Pegasus, so, play it like it's Pegasus. I will say the second node with the 2 Red Hulks and all the Gamma characters, make sure use Kestrel Special, take out the She-Hulks and the Brawn first. Knock them out real fast. That way, when your Red Hulk does come in, he's not getting buffs and immunities and things like that from Brawn. Lastly, then this is the fun part where I get to show you your new Avengers do not have to be that big gear or level-wise. You just got to have the right abilities. So, Tigra, starting with her, level 85, gear tier 16. Again, that's kind of the cost of admission here. But let's look where I have her abilities. I maxed out everything but the basic, all right? And she's a 4 blue ISO. She needs to take hits. She needs the sustainability because she is your tank. Now, the ultimate here is important. You're going to apply trauma, bleeds, evades, gain taunt up to maximum 3, and the attack won't be able to be blocked, right? That's going to be a huge one for her. Same thing with this special, getting the evades, the taunt, and up to gaining 2 evade up to a maximum of 5, gains safeguard. That's also huge. So these two, her special and her ult at the very least, need to get maxed out. Her passive, if it's not maxed out, it's not as good because it doesn't lower the damage reductions for enemies with bleed, and it doesn't lower the resistance for enemies, but you can get away without that if you can't spend all the T4s. Coulson, we just T4'd his passive, everything else is level 6. Again, 3 blue ISO, level 80, gear tier 15, right? Nothing huge. Same thing with Ronan, he's 85, 16, right? Max passive, everything else is a 6, blue ISO 3. He is 7-7, which I understand a lot of people aren't going to have him at 7-7. 6 stars is going to probably be the cost of admission. You might be able to squeak in a little under 6, or under 7 stars, like maybe having a 6-6 or a 6-5, but he needs the survivability. Thing, level 80, gear tier 15. Only thing we maxed out is the passive, and again, only blue ISO 3. Thing is an older character, so unless you're a new player, or, last 6 months or so, most players should have Thing at least 5 or 6 stars naturally. Again, the 7 reds helps, right? You want as much HP for these guys as you can. But red stars, they're handing out like candy nowadays, right? So just make sure you're being patient, waiting for these characters to pop up in the red star store if you don't have decent red stars on them. And lastly, Mockingbird. Mockingbird didn't have the max passive, only 6 ability. I did take her to gear tier 16, level 85, because she needs the survivability and she needs the health for her abilities, so that because they do percent health and they flip and fun things like that. So you want the healing, right? You want her health to be higher for the healing and to help your new Avengers. But that was the happiest part for me, was I didn't have to take this team all to level 85 gear tier 16, right? Your 3 big characters, your non-reworked ones, and Mockingbird, Ronin, and Tigra should be enough, especially when you have almost all the T4s on Tigra. That's going to be the big difference. She's got the most important T4s because you need the focus to be on her, and you need her to survive. Now, again, that final node, we got down to the last 6 or 7 tunes with this team at only 945k. So there's definitely something to be said for that, right? There's definitely something to be said that team, if you plan out their moves right, you get a little bit lucky on their first node, you should be in excellent shape. Now, we're going to go back to the MarvelStrikeForce.com real quick, because I kind of want to run you through just the difficulty that we have things set on and the packs that we use. Now, in the node-by-node video at the very end, oddly enough, we did take a brief moment while the game still had the selection screen up to go over what perks we used. So there is going to be a record of them in the next video. We can see which ones are turned on, the point spread, the bonus points that we were able to attain. And you'll actually get to see us hit that 1.4 mil score. Actually, it was 1.4 million 8,000. But with that in mind, I just want to take a quick moment and talk about the packs and the difficulty. So we used difficulty 8, which is nothing to scoff at. Packs that we used Experimental Serum, which gives enemies an extra 30% HP. Science Bros, where Pegasus gets the new Avenger traits. Snake Eyes, where player characters get crit chance up, enemy characters get crit damage up, and we used World at War, where all war abilities were on. So those 5 are the only things we use. I'll drop them in the comments, or not in the comments, in the video description as well. But again, we'll have the whole run up for you guys here in just a little bit after this video gets posted, just to show you guys what it's like. Because a lot of these nodes with these characters at this levels were not too bad, but again, there was a couple of them that were challenging, and especially making sure your new Avengers have the wherewithal and you're making the right turn decisions tactically to keep them at high HP and keep them surviving is very important. So, you know, we're going to get that video out here ASAGDMFP so that you guys will have the visuals on how all of that went. But let's go just into the game and let's take a look at what a level 95 big boy Green Goblin Classic looks like, so that you guys have something, you know what you're looking forward to, right? So my GGC is now super huge, and oh, that's Super Skrull. Wrong green face person. I am very proud of that Super Skrull. But he jumped from like 290 to 324, so it was a big jump, getting him the 4th red star and the 7th yellow. This is where he's at right now. I don't have all of his abilities and stuff maxed either, but he was crucial for Dark Dimension 6. So the higher you can have him going into DD6, the better your life is going to be. And with that said, everybody, that brings the video to its logical conclusion. Just a couple things you should be aware of. Again, keep your eyes on the channel for the node-by-node replay. It's just going to be ripped from my live stream, but we talk through all the strategy and stuff as we do it. So if you are struggling, if you're stuck in certain places, if you want to try to do it with lower gear and level characters, you can at least kind of see what some of the tricks are to get through and around certain characters. And, you know, make sure you subscribe so that you see when that video gets posted and you can have full access to that. And also keep your eyes peeled. We're going to do a DD6 breakdown. Not my favorite Dark Dimension, but Dark Dimension isn't my favorite game mode, and that's something that we're going to talk about in a later video as well. But, you know, we're going to break down how I got my big boy Skrull, things that I would do differently. That's going to hopefully make your lives easier when you're pushing for Super Skrull, making sure you're taking the right characters to Gear 18 and not wasting resources. So keep your eyes peeled on our YouTube channel for all of those things. Don't forget, we go live on Twitch Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, starting at about 8 a.m. Eastern and going to about 11 a.m. And then, we try to post a couple videos here on the YouTubes every week. So make sure you like and subscribe if you want to make sure you're staying in the know. We are trying to monetize the channel. I'm trying to extend my reach, so these subscriptions are a huge deal. I'm trying to hit that 500 subscriber mark. So if you really want to help out the channel, even if you turn off your notifications, I promise you won't hurt my feelings, but it really does help the channel. So thank you all so much for your time. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, drop it a like. And as always, friends, long days and pleasant nights, and I'll see you guys in the next one.